Hey, Falcons and NFL fans. Welcome to another episode of NFL's Jocks and Pigskins with Tom Pollen, Chris Smitherman, producing behind the scenes. I'm Dave Holcomb. We have a special Super Bowl recap show for you today. We're going to talk all about the overtime rules, and we had our second ever Super Bowl go into overtime, Tom, and Falcons fans would like to forget about the first one, but we're going to talk about the difference in the rules now between January or February 2017 and February 2014 now, or 2024 now. And that greatly helped the Kansas City Chiefs become a dynasty. And we'll talk all about as well where the Chiefs' 3 championships in 5 years stand all time up against some of the other great Super Bowl runs in the last 60 years.
Well, the thing is, even under the old overtime rules, this game would not have unfolded any differently. The old overtime rules had the if a team kicks a field goal, then the other team gets a possession.
Yeah, but I think Atlanta Falcons fans were watching that game Sunday and wishing that Matt Ryan had a possession.
Now, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is at that time, you didn't have this thing about a team being able to get that second possession. Both teams possessing the ball, in the overtime period. So that's the big difference between what we had this last week and the Falcons Super Bowl against the Patriots.
Right. And we'll dive into that in just a few minutes. Today's show brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app. When you do, use our promo code ASU. That gets you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. Tom, I did see while watching a movie on Hulu last night that Prize Picks is running their own special where you get 100% match up to $100. So there really isn't a motivation to use our promo code right now, unfortunately. But if you love our show, I don't think it matters to you. You're getting that match, whether you use our promo code or not. But if you like our show, it doesn't cost you anything differently if you use the promo code, and that supports us. So we would really appreciate it if you use that promo code ASU.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't make a big difference now overall, but yeah, it's still, we do have a lot of fans of the show, and I would like to see a lot of our fans sign up and use the promo code and support the show. We enjoy being here for you on Saturdays, and if you enjoy what we bring to you, support the show. It would be nice to see.
And give us a like on Facebook, a follow, a subscription on YouTube. There's lots of other great sports content on Atlanta Sports Unlimited channel. Terrence Mathis appears with our buddy Brandon. So it's a great channel to follow year round.
Yeah, brand new head coach, Terrence Mathis. I know he actually put his name forward as a wide receivers coach for the Falcons, but didn't work out. But he did get a head coaching job, so that was nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got Super Bowl conversations today, and we can answer any questions on the Falcons that you would like us to get to today as well. I would like to spend a lot of time today just talking about this overtime fallout, Tom. I know you kind of put it simply that under the old rules, the result would have been the same, but I can't stress enough how big of a mistake it was for Kyle Shanahan, former Falcons offensive coordinator, to take the ball to start overtime. In the old overtime rules, that is what you do, of course, because you get the ball and you want to score a touchdown. But this is basically the college rules now, where you're not starting at your 25, of course. You're going to kick off. You're starting at your own 25, basically, because it's going to be a touchback. But you want the ball second to know whether you need a field goal, whether a field goal is going to win it because you came up with a defensive stop, or if you need a touchdown. And then the Chiefs wouldn't have gone for that fourth down attempt that they went for. If they had gotten the ball first, they probably would have punted. I think they had to have punted because they were in their own territory. It would have been too big of a risk. If they don't get it, you lose the game. So, of course, in that situation, if they hadn't gotten it, they still would have lost the game because they were down by 3. But you're going for every fourth down if you're losing and you get the ball second, whereas 49ers kicked the field goal on their fourth down attempt on their drive in overtime, and that basically cost them the Super Bowl because instead of going for it and maybe scoring the touchdown.
Right. Well, I said, I tweeted out at the time that once the 49ers took the ball, I said, well, the Chiefs are going to be in 4-down situation their entire possession.
Yeah.
Especially after the 49ers, kicked the field goal. Yeah, the Chiefs are in 4-down situation. They had no choice. And that one key fourth down did come up, and they converted it and continued going down the field. But you're right. Would they have punted if they had gotten the ball? If they had the ball first?
And the 49ers won the coin toss. So
yes.
It was their choice to get the ball.
Right.
Andy Reid told reporters after the game if the Chiefs had won the coin toss, they were going to kick off. So I guess either way, San Francisco was going to get the ball first. But it was a mistake for Kyle Shanahan to want the ball. I'm assuming it was his decision. I haven't read anything about that, to be honest. But it was a mistake to take the ball first. And, from what I read also, a lot of the 49ers players didn't know that the rules were different in overtime of the Super Bowl than the regular season. And the Chiefs players who were asked about the rule changes knew about the rule changes. So a coaching blunder, big coaching blunder for Kyle Shanahan to not notify his players that, hey, this is the situation that we're going to be in if this game goes into overtime.
Yeah, huge blunder. And the more you can inform your players, the better off you are. And I think the better coach you are. Keep your players up to date. That's one of the things that kept Bill Belichick's teams on top for so long.
Yeah.
His players knew that every rule. Belichick knew the rules backward and forward, and he made sure his teams knew it. And that's one of the most important things you could do for your team is make sure they are aware of every rule.
Yeah.
And you're way ahead of your competition going that way. And Reid, the Chiefs benefited.
Right. And partially, I think the Chiefs, they were part of why this rule was put in because of the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs divisional matchup a few years ago that was just back and forth, and every team was scoring a touchdown every time they got the ball in the fourth quarter. And then overtime, of course, ended in one possession. And, the league looked at that and said, we can't have a coin toss. Finally, we're going to not have the coin toss determine a game and put in this rule. So, of course, it would make sense that the Chiefs are the team that is aware of those rules because they're the reason why those rules exist.
Yeah.
But there still was no excuse for the 49ers not to be aware of the different rules.
No excuse. You got to know these things going in. And that is a failure on Mike Shanahan and his staff that they did not get this out to the team and let them know that you are in this situation.
You think Matt Ryan scores a touchdown if these are the rules in Super Bowl 51?
I think Matt Ryan scores a touchdown or at least wins the game because it was tied. I think if he had a timeout in his pocket when the Falcons got the ball back, I think the Falcons win that Super Bowl. He didn't have the timeout in his pocket because Dan Quinn blew it on the Edelman catch.
Right.
Challenging that catch. But, the way Ryan was throwing the ball, I think definitely, if it had gone to overtime with both teams having possession, yes, I think Ryan would have gotten that team in the end zone. Matt Ryan was one of the best pressure quarterbacks in the NFL. If you look at his fourth quarter comeback achievements, fourth quarter or game-winning drive statistics, one of the best pressure quarterbacks to ever play the game. So, yeah, I think Matt Ryan could have.
Yeah, I think they would have gotten into the end zone. Yeah, and maybe even gone for 2 and gone for the win because of how much that defense had been on the field. I think it was 99 snaps that defense was on the field.
Oh, they were gassed.
The end of overtime. They had no chance of stopping the Patriots really at all if that game had kept going, assuming Matt Ryan scores the game and the Falcons score the game-winning touchdown. So why not go for 2 and try to win it there if you score the touchdown, of course. Ryan was 17 of 23, 284 passing yards, 2 touchdowns in that Super Bowl.
He was hitting a lot of deep balls. He was getting the ball downfield. So I see no reason why he wouldn't have. You know, that and it made a big difference. Now, I can also go on the other side of the equation and say, if you can't stop your opponent from scoring a touchdown, you don't deserve to win.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next question for you. Has the NFL fixed their overtime problem? Like, do you like these current rules, or do they still need to be adjusted?
I don't think you can adjust them anymore. What else are you going to do? At some point, you have to declare a winner of the game. And I know it's not totally fair, but I think this is about as fair as you can get. Even if the other team scores a touchdown and you can't prevent the other team from scoring a touchdown, which if you want to be a winner, you should be able to prevent the other team from scoring a touchdown. But
which the Chiefs did.
Yeah, they did. But at some point it's got to stop. You give both teams a full possession, with the idea that, if the team with the ball first scores the touchdown, the other team gets a chance to do the same thing. If they can't, well, that's life. You lose. I don't think it can get any more fair. I don't think you can tweak these rules any farther and still have them be fair have them be fair. It's as I say, at some point you got to name a winner.
I would make one small tweak. We almost got into double overtime, and the clock really doesn't mean anything.
No.
So I almost think that just do away with the clock, which would be a small tweak. Just only have the play clock, like they do in college. They only have, they call it single overtime, double overtime when you start the second possession. If they want to do that, fine. Or they could just not have it, just the whole period, the whole time until we get a winner. It's called overtime. We don't have to have specific double overtime, triple overtime, whatever. Or the other alternative, which I probably would prefer, the Chiefs have to score by the end of the overtime. I think that would add an extra intrigue of, okay, well, we're in the final minute of overtime. We either got to score a touchdown and win, or we kick a field goal and we go to double overtime.
Well, it might be an interesting way of doing it, because under the current rules, all they would have done is switch sides like it was the end of the quarter.
Right. And it doesn't seem right that in the history books, we would have gotten a double overtime game, but it's completely different than any other previous double overtime game we would have gotten in NFL history. I get that the rules change and you can't compare eras, but it just seems like if we get a double overtime game in the NFL, it should be special. And not that game wasn't special, it was, but it was going to go into double overtime just because both teams took a really long time with both of their possessions. It didn't seem like it deserved to me to be like a double overtime game, which is why I think, if you add the extra intrigue of, well, you got to score quickly here in the final minute or kick a field goal and then hope for the best in double overtime, that would have been worthy of a double overtime in my mind.
All right. I can't really argue against that. That would be an interesting way of doing it. I don't know if the NFL will ever do that, but
They never want to do anything. I suppose.
Yeah, it takes time. You're dealing with 32 owners that really, you really got to pull hard to get anything done in the NFL. I'm surprised they actually changed the rules to both teams getting a full possession. So, that I think that was radical by NFL standards.
Right. Yeah. It took a long time, as you said, though. It took a long time. I mean, I think people have been clamoring for the coin toss to not matter in overtime for as long as I've been alive, to be honest, because back in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was when the coin toss could kick a field goal. And for so long, it was like.
That was unfair. That was completely unfair. That was the problem. Is you win the coin toss, you drive like 40 yards, and you kick the field goal and you win. And that, I never did like that because that was completely unfair. But, changing it to the point where even if a field goal is kicked and the other team gets the ball, I like that. At least they went that far. I think they've gone farther than they had to. I still think if you stop your opponent, if you need to win the game, you need to stop your opponent from scoring a touchdown. And, if your defense can't do it, well, hey, that's tough. You lose.
The problem is Patrick Mahomes is on the other side,
Yeah.
and again, going back to that Chiefs-Bills game from a few years ago, if the Bills had gotten the ball first, that's Josh Allen. And Josh Allen is probably scoring the way that game was going.
Oh, both quarterbacks had lifted their games, way above the level of competition. They were just playing special in that game. That was an amazing playoff game.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really was.
And again, the coin toss in a lot of people's minds determined it. I get what you're saying. I'm a defensive guy. I would like to think, get a defensive stop. And if you don't deserve to win. But in the NFL, I think there should be a rule where both teams get the ball.
There's no participation trophies here in the NFL, Dave. If you want to win, stop the other team.
No. I don't see how that's a participation trophy. It's more like playground rules. This is the NFL. It should be professional rules, not if you get a stop, you get if you score, you get the ball again. You want to go to that rule as well? Make it, take it. That's what it's called. Right? I haven't played pickup basketball.
Oh, there you go.
Make it, take it.
Yeah, make it, take it. Now they can use that rule in the Pro Bowl.
Okay.
They're playing flag football.
That would mean the Pro Bowl is actually a game, though. I know games is in the Pro Bowl title. Pro Bowl games it's called.
Yes,
but not really much of a game.
It's not a game anymore. It's just it's just an excuse to get some of the best players in the game together for a big party.
And I'm not against that. I just don't. I mean, I understand why they want to televise it. They want to get all these viewers and make money on it. I get it. But couldn't they have something for just the players? I know the players get paid a lot of money and everything, but it would be nice if they just made the Pro Bowl. I guess they basically have, to be honest. They've made it about the players and a celebration of them. If you want to watch, great. If you don't want to watch, don't tune in and make fun of it from afar like we're doing.
Well, see, and that's the problem is the players get a lot of money now. It used to be before free agency and before all the television money started, piling up, where players actually needed that winner's share of the Pro Bowl to get through the offseason.
Right.
Right. It was important to win that game. And when it became to a point where it's not important to win it anymore, that's when everybody starts protecting themselves, no hitting, and the whole nature of the game changed.
But
It's
it's
the
not.
same thing in baseball. Baseball All-Star game, especially when the American League and National League were two different organizations.
Yeah.
They played that game to win. All right. The National League and American League, there was none of this getting everybody in the game and having fun. And, it was a fact that the National League, the American League, they played to win that game. And money kind of took that incentive away because the winning team does not need that winning cut of the share for the players.
But it's not a bad thing that the players are paid a lot of money now.
Oh,
And
no, it's not.
Well,
Of course it's not.
You said the problem is the players get paid a lot of money.
I'm not saying – I said the problem with those games is players make so much money now that they don't need that winning share from these All-Star games.
Right, yeah.
And it takes away from a lot of the competitiveness of these All-Star games.
I still think the baseball All-Star game is good. And it's just –
baseball All-Star game is still good. It's still the best of all of them.
Right, and it's mostly because there's no physicality to baseball. So you can play an exhibition game and do it 75, 80%, probably even less than that. And it's still entertaining. It's still baseball. Whereas you play football at 50%, it's not football anymore.
It's not football.
If you play hockey at 50%, it's not hockey. So,
well, that's the thing. It's, hockey, there's no checks.
The 3-on-3 is entertaining, though.
Yeah, doing it that way made it more entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It used to be, you'd have 5 guys coming down into the offensive zone and the goalie was just screwed. Because there's, goalie was getting peppered with, a dozen, 2 dozen shots a period. And, he had no chance and nobody's playing defense in front of him. So, that was rough. Yeah, changing it to a 3-on-3 made a big difference.
So behind these new overtime rules, although you pointed out correctly, under the old rules, the Chiefs still win because they got the defensive stop. But with these rules helping them, they won a 3rd Super Bowl in 5 years. How has this changed how you view the Kansas City Chiefs and this era of the last half a decade of them? And I also, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, really the big honchos in Kansas City. I mean, what does this victory do for their legacy?
Oh, cements it. I don't think it makes any difference to what the Chiefs have accomplished. They've been to 4 Super Bowls in 5 years. They've won 3 of them. And come back from 10 points down in each one to win 3 of them. Yeah. And I don't think this changes my mind about anything about the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a dynasty. This is a winning team.
Were they a dynasty? They were a dynasty before this game for you?
This game really cemented it.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Because you win so much in a short period of time. That's basically what you're looking for. And the Chiefs did that. They've done it. Everybody's gunning for the Chiefs. You saw that this past year. The Chiefs didn't look like a Super Bowl team during the season at times.
Right.
Especially in December. But they pulled it together when the playoffs started. And that's what you're looking for, is a team that pulls it together and wins. And with the Chiefs, especially in the Super Bowl, you can't make a mistake with these guys and still win. You remember last year, Philadelphia dominated the first half. Yeah. Completely buried Kansas City. But Kansas City was only 10 points down because of the Nick Bolton recovery of Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has dropped the ball.
Right. Yeah.
And Nick Bolton picked it up, brought it in the end zone. So the Chiefs were still within striking distance, even though they had been completely outplayed on both sides of the ball. And then, I'm thinking the other advantage for the Chiefs, And one thing that I think Mahomes and Reed and his coaching staff take big advantage of is that extra long halftime in the Super Bowl. They come out, they have some answers in the second half that may not have had in the first half, or that they may not have had time to implement with a normal halftime break. That you got 30 to 40 minutes of sitting in the locker room. You can almost watch tape of the first half, see what's gone wrong, and implement game plan changes right away, especially if you're a veteran team like the Chiefs are. And you can look like a different team coming out of the half. And that's been one of their advantages.
Yeah, certainly with their 3 comebacks in the Super Bowl. I think this Super Bowl victory was really important for the Chiefs' legacy. I'm not saying that it makes Mahomes and Reed Hall of Famers. They were that already.
Yes.
But you got to win back-to-back to be a dynasty, to be one of the best teams of all time, and to be in the conversation of, great Super Bowl quarterbacks, great Super Bowl coaches. So this was their shot to get that back-to-back title. If San Francisco had won,
they blew their first shot at it with Tampa, but
exactly. And then you think, wow, in order to be back-to-back now after losing the Super Bowl, you gotta go get back there, which is not easy to do, win, and then do it again. So this
era of free agency, it's more difficult than ever to actually get back there and still perform. It's
absolutely. And the Chiefs have done it with like almost an entirely new defense from the first Super Bowl. So
you figure after Tampa Bay lost, they rebuilt their entire offensive line.
Well, that too. Yes.
They went 5 guys and brought out, cut 5 guys and brought in 5 new guys. So, it's amazing what the Chiefs can do, how good they are at scouting, and how good Andy Reid's coaching staff is at teaching.
Yeah.
And it makes a big difference. Yeah, Andy Reid, he's a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, even after the Eagles, he had the Eagles in 6 straight championship games. So you knew what you were getting with Andy Reid. But yeah, now that you have these 2 straight Super Bowls with Mahomes and Reid, it's definitely a dynasty. There's no getting away from that.
Oh, yeah.
You're up there with the Steelers. You're up there with the 49ers.
But my point was just that they had to get this win to be a dynasty.
Yes.
And they obviously got it. And I think it was important for Mahomes. I know Mahomes is going to have more chances, and I wouldn't be surprising if he is up there, second to Brady or challenges Brady and his record. Already has got 3, but with 3, you're in a conversation with an elite group of quarterbacks.
Yes, you are.
Brady, Terry Bradshaw, Joe Montana, Troy Aikman. I think that's it. And now Patrick Mahomes. So he deserves to be up there because he's one of the most talented ever to play, and he's fulfilled that with championships. So that to me was the big takeaway after all of the fallout of everything from the game was how much this just cements is a good word that you used. Cements Mahomes and Andy Reid among the all-time greats.
Absolutely. Just, they can't be pulled off that pedestal anymore. And they might go again. You never know. I mean, Mahomes is talking 3-peat.
Which would be historic. Never been done in the Super Bowl era. It's been done once, I believe. You can fact check me, NFL historian, but one time by the Green Bay Packers. They won the last NFL championship, correct?
Yes.
And then won the first 2 Super Bowls. Hadn't been done before that. Hasn't been done since. And because it was over 2 eras, which is kind of interesting. They didn't win. I guess they did win 3 straight NFL championships, but they didn't get 3 Super Bowls in a row because the Super Bowl started a year later after their first one.
Right. So, yeah, it was a little rough. It was the end of their dynasty, of their NFL dynasty, and being able to take those first 2 Super Bowls. They were kind of breaking down. They didn't have Paul Hornung anymore. Still had Bart Starr. And Bart Starr was the key to that whole thing, being able to run Vince Lombardi's offense. But, yeah, I think if there had been a Super Bowl in 65, I think they'd have won that one too. Because they were just that good.
Yeah. And they had a chance to three-peat. They won in 61 and 62, didn't three-peat in 63, but came back.
You got to remember, Paul Hornung was suspended for a year because of gambling. Or not gambling, but associated with gamblers. He and Alex Karras were suspended in the 1963 season because of gambling issues. So it's one of the reasons why the Packers fell short to the Bears that year. If you look, the Giants, New York Giants were kind of that old day Buffalo Bills. They went to 3 straight NFL championship games and came away losers.
They were the runner-ups in
61,
62, and 63?
Yep.
Okay. I did not know that. Don't have my NFL championships memorized like Super Bowls. I'm sorry, Tom, but I do know some of them. I knew 60. I did not know the Bears won in 63, though. I know. Yeah. I'll remember that one now. The Browns won in 64.
Yes, they did.
That was the last. Yes, they did. That was the last Cleveland championship until LeBron James. That's why I know that one.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, it is.
Yeah.
Hard to believe. Yes. They lost an NFC championship to the Vikings in the first year the Vikings went. But yeah, it seems like the Browns have been good at losing conference final championship games and haven't quite gotten there yet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and the Indians, former Indians, now Guardians, went to some World Series in the 90s and fell short as well. So that was
went to the World Series in 2016 and fell short.
Which would have been after LeBron James's championship, though.
I don't care. Indians lost in 2016.
They did.
And guess who beat them?
I'm surprised you're not, going all in on the 63 Bears like you are the 2016 Cubs.
Oh, the 63 Bears had a monster defense. Wasn't great on offense, but they got by in their defense. That's a team that won on defense, purely on defense. Billy Wade was their quarterback, and decent, but not a great passer, more of a runner. And, the Bears kind of fought their way on defense to that championship.
As they have done many a time, I believe.
Yeah. Well, 85, they actually had an offense to go along with that defense. Jim McMahon was healthy, at the first half and the last part of the year. And you saw what kind of quarterback McMahon could be. It's just too bad he couldn't stay healthy. Because I think the Bears would have won more Super Bowls. And when 86, when Charles Martin of the Packers dropped him on his shoulder on that cement-hard Soldier Field turf, just pile-drived him into the turf. His shoulder was never the same. So, look up that play because that was the old AstroTurf. And that was a cement field. And, cement under a small, maybe a half-inch of padding. And Charles Martin picked up Jim McMahon and pile-drived him into the turf.
They didn't have, no body weight in the quarterback rule back then?
Yes, they did. But
did they really?
No body weight. Yeah, not that rule. Oh. But they were starting to protect quarterbacks more. But the Packers had towels tied to their waists with numbers of Bears players that they wanted to knock out of the game.
Oh,
And McMahon was one of them, and he got his chance. And
well,
I think he wrecked
where
McMahon.
was the referee then? If there's a rule against doing that.
Oh, it got called.
Oh, it got
He
called.
got ejected.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It got called, believe me. But yeah, why Tony Wright, he's right. Y.A. Tittle threw the interception. Ed Obranovich made the interception, got the Bears the ball, and 5 plays later, they scored a touchdown that won the game. So Tittle threw a terrible interception. But that's why I say the Bears counted on their defense that year.
Brian says that was the year he was born, 1963.
Right. Great. Good year to be born. Brian, no, they were not better than the 85 Bears. They were almost as good, though. They were near as good if you look at the players that they had. It was a monstrous defense. They could have played on that 85 Bears team and really acquitted themselves well. But maybe not as good. But yeah.
Yeah, Tony said that I forgot Terry Bradshaw. I think he was the first one I mentioned of quarterbacks that have won 3 Super Bowls. I would not forget Terry Bradshaw. I thought I mentioned.
Oh no, I know you wouldn't.
Yeah, I thought I mentioned him, but if not, definitely Terry Bradshaw is one of the quarterbacks that have won 3 or more Super Bowls. Larry Orange brought up a great reference for local reference for the Super Bowl. McCole Hardman scoring the game-winning touchdown.
Yes.
Georgia alum from Georgia as well, Elberton. So that was cool to see. A guy that I think it was a 2nd-round pick, if I remember correctly, and hasn't had the like we thought he would just take off with Mahomes throwing him passes and he would be this great deep threat. Really hasn't done a whole lot, but
no.
Regardless of whatever he does the rest of his career, he has the game-winning.
Oh, he has that.
Super Bowl.
It's kind of like Plaxico Burress. You make one big play during a game, and that's
Plaxico was pretty good though in his prime.
Yeah, Plaxico was good, but that tight roping, in the end zone on the sideline, that catch was, you make one of those plays in the Super Bowl, you're known forever. That's it. I called up some stats on Super Bowl quarterbacks, actually, and of course, nobody comes close to Tom Brady. He played in 10 of those games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing that the stats Brady put up in the Super Bowl, 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions through 10 Super Bowls. So, everybody, if you want to denigrate, I know it's cool to hate Tom Brady, but it's, we in America like to do this. We like to tear down elite teams. Let a team, and even the Chiefs are becoming this. They're becoming the enemy now. They're becoming the team that everybody loves to hate because they win. And we do that with winning teams here in this country.
Yes, I think that's true, but I mean the cheating allegations with the Patriots
that didn't help.
A major reason why they were so disliked. And whether I'm not saying that they cheated, I'm not saying that how they cheated influenced the outcomes of games. I'm not bearing that, not weighing in on that at all. I just think the cloud that they had for so long was a big reason why people disliked them so much.
In 4 Super Bowls, Terry Bradshaw had a passer rating of 112.8. So he performed big on the big stage. He liked playing on that stage.
I think that was his legacy before he played for so long. He compiled all these stats and then became arguably the greatest quarterback ever. I mean, he was the greatest clutch quarterback.
Yeah.
In all 3 Super Bowls, well, the first 2, he had game-winning field goal drives in the final minute. Won the 3rd one, not the same way, but it was by a field goal, close game. Of course, then had the comeback against the Falcons. He's a big game quarterback.
Yes.
But I think that kind of changed. I don't know when he started. I guess when he started winning MVPs, when they had the undefeated season, won a couple more MVPs the last
Oh,
12
you're
years.
talking about Tom Brady. I'm talking about Terry Bradshaw.
I'm talking about Tom Brady.
Terry
Oh,
Bradshaw had a 112.8 passer rating.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying Tom Brady still.
No, that was
So
Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw hit big games.
Oh, well, yeah. Yes.
He loved
Yes.
that stage.
Yes, he did. I mean, 4-0. I've heard him say in documentaries how like he was always confident that they were going to win, but there was that little piece of him that feared losing, that feared like there's a 1% chance I could lose this game, that we could lose this game.
Yeah,
and that drove him to being 4-0 in the Super Bowl, which I think is still very cool to have one quarterback. Joe Montana has the same record. As great as Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are, they'll never be perfect in the Super Bowl, which Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw can say.
No. Tom Brady was 6-4. Now,
not perfect.
Not perfect, but you can also say Brady got them to the Super Bowl 10 times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A little different rules. Terry
But look
Bradshaw.
at it this way. Tom Brady lost as many Super Bowls as Jim Kelly did.
Yeah.
Of course, Kelly doesn't have the wins on his record, but
right.
Yeah, you could do that all day with NFL statistics and.
Now, wasn't he 7-3 though?
No, he was 6-4.
Didn't they win 6?
Patriots have only won 6 Super Bowls.
And then he won in Tampa.
Oh, yes, that's right. He won in Tampa. Damn, I forgot about that. All right. Fine. Be that way, Dave.
I'm sorry. 7-3 sounds better than 6-4. I was like, 6-4? That's almost 500.
Actually, no, I think he's still 6-4. I think Tampa counts for one of those wins. So he was 5-4 in New England.
Belichick has 6 rings. 01, 03, 04.
All right, now you're going to force me to go back and actually look this crap up.
It's 7. He has 7.
Tony
Tony Wright brings up a good point, though. He should be 5-5.
Well, Tony, I'm not going to argue with you, Tony. I am not going to argue with you. And I've had plenty to say about that Atlanta Super Bowl, about that one Brady victory.
And Tony's referencing the Seattle Super Bowl as well, the one where Brady didn't really have a big. I mean, he had a. I was going to say he didn't have a big say in the outcome. Of course he did, but in the final minute, it wasn't him on the field.
That interception Russell Wilson threw.
Butler won that Super Bowl for him.
Right. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Brady was 7-3. Okay, that's fine. I'll take the hit on that. Sorry.
You had me convinced. You had me think, wait a minute, 6-4.
I thought he was.
Sounds a lot better.
But all right. So he's got one more Super Bowl. Kelly has one more Super Bowl loss than Tom Brady.
Yeah. Does anybody else have 3 losses?
John Elway.
Oh, John Elway, right.
He was 2-3. He won his last 2 Super Bowls.
Right.
Amazing stat about Super Bowl quarterbacks. Joe Montana, 4 Super Bowls, was never intercepted in 4 Super Bowls.
Colin Kaepernick was the first 49ers quarterback to throw an interception in the Super Bowl. Steve Young didn't have one either.
So Joe Montana never threw an interception in the Super Bowl. 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. And, just incredible the way Joe Montana would play when it came time for the big stage. He was another big stage guy. Loved that stage. Loved the spotlight. So, always great to see.
Gary's throwing the 76 Steelers into the conversation of great defenses. 5 shutouts for that team that year. Noel said it was was his best team. And ironically, that was one of the years Bradshaw did not lead them to a Super Bowl championship. They lost in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes even the best team, well, that's 16-0 or what, 18-0 Patriots team. The Eli Manning and his Giants caught up with him. So, sometimes it's hard to go perfect.
Right. Oh, and that was the Steelers' attempt at a three-peat as well. So there. What's the closest? Here's a good trivia. What is the closest teams have come to three-peating? I don't think anyone has ever gone back to the Super Bowl after winning 2 straight. We've had teams go to the Super Bowl 3 years in a row, but not after 2 Super Bowl wins.
Right.
Right. So I think
you go back way back in the early days, the Dolphins went and got beaten up by the Cowboys.
Right.
Then won their next 2 Super Bowls.
Right. So they were in it 3 in a row, but they're not the three-peat bid.
Right.
The Steelers were lost in the AFC Championship in 76. The 49ers lost in the NFC Championship in 90. Patriots lost. Actually, I don't think the Patriots made it to the championship game when they made it to the divisional round in 05. They did not make it to the championship.
I know I think Troy Aikman, Dallas Cowboys made it to.
That's the other.
I think got knocked out.
That's the other one. Yes.
Yeah.
I thought there were 3. The Cowboys in '94 made it back to the championship.
Then they won the following year under Barry Switzer.
Right. So I mean, if the Chiefs make it back to the Super Bowl, that would be historic, even without winning it. And then they could match, 3 of the greatest dynasties ever, 3 of the best 3 bids at a three-peat in the Super Bowl era anyway. By going back to the championship game next year.
Right. So, it's going to be interesting to see, but Mahomes wants that three-peat. And if he gets it, does that make the Chiefs one of the greatest dynasties in NFL history?
I think they're already being ranked as one of the best. That could be recency bias, but I saw some lists this week that had them in the top 5. I think I saw one list that had them at 3. The only teams that they were behind were the Patriots and Steelers. So, I mean, they're already ahead of the Cowboys. Some people had them ahead of 80 49ers. And, I mean, those growing up, I grew up before the Patriots. So, growing up for me, it was Steelers, 49ers, and Cowboys. Those were the teams, and Packers. Those were the 4 teams that you measured yourself against. And the Chiefs are already in that conversation. So, a three-peat, I mean, you could argue vaults them to the very top because, again, it's never been done.
Right. True. Exactly. That's what I mean. Something that's never been done, something you've never seen. So, but yeah, and there's 3 great dynasties before the Super Bowl era.
Right.
You got the Packers in the 60s. You had the Packers in the late 30s had a dynasty going with Don Hudson as their wide receiver. You had the Bears in the early 40s when they introduced the T formation, and everybody was still pretty much running single wing, and the Bears, dominated from 40 to 46. Then you had the Cleveland Browns in the 50s, late 40s and early 50s. So, and the Cleveland Browns made it to 6 straight NFL championships after joining the league from the All-American Football Conference.
Right. Yeah.
So that's, you can't just look at the Super Bowl era when it comes to dynasties.
I know. I knew you would bring that up. But yes, I think I think all the lists I saw this week were limited to the Super Bowl era.
I know. And I just wanted to throw a wrench into that.
I mean, it's fair.
Which I'm good at doing.
I can see both sides because I think winning a Super Bowl, there's just something special about that. And those teams didn't win a Super Bowl. However, at some point, unfortunately, when I'm old, some people are probably not going to care about the 70 Steelers anymore, or even the 2005 Steeler championship. And it's like, it still means something. Even though it happened a long time ago, it still means something. So I understand, bringing up those teams too.
Guess what? The 85 Bears still mean something.
They should.
Even though they still played in Super Bowl 46 and lost the game to the Colts that was, tightly contested. But, nobody's going to forget that 85 Bears here in Chicago.
Well, they're going to be legendary until – I mean, they'll always be legendary. But they'll be extra legendary until –
that defense was just unbelievable.
But you get what I'm saying? Until the Bears win again to have something to compare it to or something else to celebrate, that's the only thing they have to celebrate.
Yeah, I know.
And the 40s Bears, but
and the 40s Bears
are celebrating that as much as the 85 Bears.
Well, the problem is Sid Luckman is still the passing leader in some categories for the Bears, and
that's a problem.
That is a big problem when your most famous, the greatest quarterback in franchise history played in the 1940s. That is a problem. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get to some more comments. Gary brings up a good question. Fran Tarkenton, he had 3 losses in the Super Bowl, right?
Yes, he did. Yeah, lost in the final actual AFL-NFL Super Bowl the year before the merger.
Wasn't that Joe? I don't think he started that game. Wasn't it Joe?
Oh, no, Joe Kapp started that game.
Joe Kapp.
I'm sorry. Yes, Joe Kapp started that game. So
yes, I knew some old history to stump Tom.
There you go. Well, you didn't stump me. I just forgot.
Oh, okay. I'm going to count it as a stump.
Go for it.
But he does have 3 losses. He lost the other 3 games.
So, he lost to the Dolphins. He lost to the Steelers. Who else did he lose to? I think he lost to the Raiders.
The Raiders. Yeah. I watched Super Bowl 9 last summer, Tom, and I was not impressed by Fran Tarkenton. I guess he was going up against a great defense in the Steelers, but
both times he was going up against great defenses.
Yeah.
But he did not distinguish himself in either of those games. Did not distinguish himself in all 3 of his Super Bowl games. Because the Raiders, when the Raiders beat them, they were the first wild card team to go all the way to the Super Bowl and win it. So everybody thought that was going to be Tarkenton's year. That didn't do it.
Yeah.
So it's rough, but he was still with the New York Giants in '69. The Vikings had traded him to the Giants, and then he had come back to Minnesota for the early '70s.
I've watched a documentary that had Joe Kapp talking, and he felt like if he had won that Super Bowl against the Chiefs, he would have remained the starter in Minnesota, but he lost that game, and Tarkenton came back, and even great NFL historians like Tom forget his name. So
I didn't forget his name. I know his name. I know who he is. I just forgot. Yes, that's '69. It was a Joe Kapp Super Bowl, not a Fran Tarkenton Super Bowl.
Right.
Because he was still with the Giants.
Right. Okay.
He had that brief window with the Giants in between his 2 stints with the Vikings.
Right. Okay.
No.
Yeah, Tony brings up the if you want to, we're splitting hairs here now. The 76 Steelers lost in a blowout in that the AFC Championship game when they could have three-peated. What is that? I got a like over my face.
You got a thumbs up. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
There you go.
I hope the thumbs up wasn't to the Steelers losing that 76 championship game, but the Cowboys lost the 94 championship game, I think, by 10 points or something. The 90 49ers actually should have gone back to a third straight Super Bowl. And Tony bringing that up where Joe Montana got knocked out of the game. Roger Craig fumbles with the team up by a point, and the Giants win without scoring a touchdown, I believe, right? That was 5 field goals. They kicked game-winning field goal in the final seconds to go to the Super Bowl and send the Bills on a 4-game losing streak, starting that out. But the
Bills should have won that game.
And the 49ers should have beat the Giants the week before or 2 weeks before, whatever, if there was no bye week or if there was.
Well, what can you say? But yeah, it was all 5. I'm looking it up. It was Matt Bear who kicked all 5 field goals.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and I got to get this up on there because Tom's going to take exception with this list.
Oh, yeah, I take exception to that list. There's no way. No, the 85 Bears go to the top of that list. Sorry, Tony. No. The 85 Bears are at the top of that list.
That's a good list.
Actually, you're forgetting the 2000 Ravens because that team was
greatest
monsters.
Team?
Well, greatest defense, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm not putting Trent Dilfer.
That 85 Bears team could play offense. That was not a team that was
and that's why they're on the list.
That was deficient on offense.
Greatest teams of all time.
But take that number 5 and put that up to number 1, and we will be all right with the world, Tony.
I like your list, Tony. I like the list. I like the team at number 1.
I like the teams you have on the list.
That's what I'm saying too. Yeah. The 84 49ers, I hate to use the word underrated, but they're underrated. I think when you hear the greatest teams of all time, the 84 49ers who went 15-1, not mentioned as often as some of these other teams. Not even mentioned if you talk about the greatest 49ers team. I think it's usually the 89 team. So I think the 84 team gets overlooked. I think the 75 Steelers get overlooked. I think the 75 Steelers have an argument to be the best Steeler team of all time.
Could be.
And you could argue 78 is the best team of all time. So, I mean, they're both great teams. And same with the 49ers.
Yeah.
And the Bears, of course, are up there as well. I'm not giving you a hard time, Tom. But 72 Dolphins, no mention on that list for Tony. Is that an error, Tom? Would you put 72 Dolphins in the top 5?
The problem with the 72 Dolphins is they did not play a very distinguished schedule.
Undefeated.
Yeah, undefeated. And that's incredibly, hard to do, as we've seen. Other teams have come close to being undefeated before, didn't make it, and they made it. So you got to give them credit for that. Did not really overwhelm in their Super Bowl. Won 14-7 over Washington. Yeah. So, and I think that's one of the things that really hurts them too. They kind of ended the Steelers' run that year.
That's true. Yeah, they did.
So,
they beat the Steelers after the Immaculate Reception. And they didn't have home field advantage despite being undefeated. That was a weird rule back in the early 70s. That AFC Championship game was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So, but, it's a great team. Again, got a lot done on defense, got a lot going on the ground. Now, Bob Greasy was not a great passer. However, he did have Paul Warfield, and he did have Larry Zonka, Jim Kick, and Mercury Morris as his backfield.
Yeah.
And they wore you down. I mean, Larry Zonka in the fourth quarter was impossible to stop. He just wore teams down. I remember Doug Buffone was linebacker for the Bears. Always told the story about facing the Dolphins and facing the Dolphins in the fourth quarter. And finally, getting upset with Zonka and saying, will you guys stop running the damn ball? Because he was getting worn out trying to stop them.
Yeah.
So, that's how they played.
This is probably a hot take, but I think the 73 Dolphins might have been better than the 72 Dolphins. I've heard Dolphins players in documentaries say that. that they thought the 73 team was better. They just didn't win every game.
I would say they played a better schedule, a tougher schedule, and came through and yeah, that was a top team too. I would say I would agree with that. I think the 73 Dolphins were a better team.
Okay. Interesting. Todd says 93 Cowboys. Ever, top to bottom, best team.
Todd. We're not going to do this 2 weeks in a row, are we?
Todd also has a question that I wanted to get to, and then we got to wrap up today's show. But
well, I got one question for you that I want to get to too.
Okay.
And see what you have to say.
We'll answer this question from Todd. Why not get Kenny Pickett for the Falcons? That's an interesting proposal that I have not seen floated out there, but probably because Kenny Pickett's going to be the Steelers' starting quarterback. For better or worse.
He's not going to be available.
Yeah, for better or worse.
You don't want to put together an unbeatable trade package for him.
Well,
because he's just not.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think the Steelers are accepting trade packages.
No. They want.
I'm sure you feel the same way. This week, since the Super Bowl, it's nonsense. All of these rumors about Justin Fields coming to Pittsburgh it's
a silly season.
It's nonsense, and it was started by a reputable reporter that I could rant about, and I'm not going to. I'm going to bite my tongue, but I really don't think the Steelers are going to make any big quarterback moves. They're going to sign Ryan Tannehill in free agency, draft like Spencer Rattler on day 3 of the draft, and Kenny Pickett will be their starter. So Kenny Pickett will not be available for the Falcons.
No, he won't be there. So sorry to say it, but no, it's just not a non-starter because, and remember, it's a silly season. 99.9% of the stuff you read is going to be things that writers are just trying to come up with subjects right now. Anything to get viewers. So don't believe most of what you read. Big question. A lot of it is,
just to comment about that real quick, it's hypotheticals that are probably not going to happen. And it's fun. It's, like you said, it's a silly season. It's supposed to be fun. It's entertaining, but none of it is going to happen.
Right.
A lot of it is not going to happen, I should say. But
all right, Dave, one big question for you.
Yeah.
Who is the next NFL dynasty?
Oh.
Is it in its, let's say, in its start right now and is ready to grow? Is anybody ready to take up the mantle at this point?
Chris, I think he's putting that up there to be funny. I mean, that's a team that came to mind, is the Bengals. My first reaction would be it's not even in its infancy yet. I mean, this is the Chiefs league, and we'll probably have some teams win when the Chiefs have an off year, although we thought the Chiefs were having an off year this year. And the Bengals might be one of those teams.
It's the Chiefs league, and 31 other teams are just playing in it.
Right. Yeah. And I don't really see that changing very soon with Mahomes. I think another good question that I could ask you is, I mean, the last NFL dynasty we had lasted 2 decades. And before that, we had never had one that lasted more than like 8 or 9 years.
Well, that was the New York Yankees of the NFL. I mean, you only get that once in a generation.
But that's my question. Are we only going to get, are the Patriots a special case where we're never going to get the Patriots again? That was the greatest coach, greatest quarterback combination. Will never be duplicated. Or do we have that with Andy Reid, who's getting up there, matching a lot of Belichick marks in the playoffs, and Mahomes, who is being talked about in the same breath as Tom Brady? I mean, is that going to be – are they going to have a dynasty as long as New England? And then I can't really answer your question because, I mean, these by the time Mahomes is done, it's going to be 10 years from now.
True. Oh, yeah, I just put that out there as speculation.
Oh, it's a good question. It is. Gary has a good response again. How about Houston? CJ Stroud?
No. You got a young coach and a young quarterback. hitting the league at the same time. And, it's very possible they drive each other to championships. Yet to be seen. But that is a very good suggestion, Gary.
And if you're a fan of NFL history, at least from the Super Bowl era, normally these dynasties are started by teams that have had very little success.
Yes.
The Steelers were nothing before the 70s, really. The 49ers had never won anything. The Cowboys had, but that was kind of their return to dominance in the 90s, and the Patriots had never won. So
no.
The Chiefs had won once, but 50 years prior. So
right.
It would not surprise me if it's like a Bengals or the Texans, or how about the Lions? The Lions are an up-and-coming team. Don't have the young quarterback, which is what I would say
that's a big part of what they're missing, yes.
Yeah, but they have a quarterback that I think they can win the Super Bowl with at least once.
They can win one with him, right? Yeah. I can see that. I cannot see Jared Goff going on an extended run of Super Bowls.
Right. So they would probably need a new quarterback, but they're building something in Detroit that they could have long-term succse with. And
they have a mindset that at least Dan Campbell has changed that mindset from, we're going to find a way to lose the game. It was always the Lions. It seemed like in the fourth quarter, it was always going to be a way to lose the game.
Right.
And he has changed that mindset. So that's a big turnaround.
Let's get to a couple more comments, then we got to wrap up. Tony, bold prediction: Chiefs will not return to the Super Bowl. This is the end of the dynasty. I think that's really bold, Tony.
It's bold.
I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible. Aaron Rodgers never got back to the Super Bowl, but with Andy Reid,
plenty of chances. That was Aaron Rodgers' fault.
Right. Mahomes is a much better big game quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. So I have a hard time thinking that Mahomes won't be back. I'll tell you,
the thing about having an extended window of winning is your scouting staff, your general manager and your scouting, and how well you are evaluating players and bringing in players to take the place of guys who are maybe 1 or 2 years away from. That's one of the things the Patriots did so well with Bill Belichick is they got rid of guys or were maybe still productive NFL players, but already replaced them with younger players who developed into quality NFL players. And that's one of the reasons why the Patriots went on so long is they knew when to make a change. They knew when they needed to replace players.
Yeah.
So
it was a completely different dynasty than any of the previous ones. It was the previous dynasties, the teams were awful, really bad, picked early in the draft a lot, had a lot of draft capital, and they've used those picks to get Hall of Fame players and had a Hall of Fame coach established as well. So maybe not previously established, but a Hall of Fame coach that grew with those players. So Patriots did it very differently, just having the head coach and quarterback and moving parts all around that for 2 decades.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs are having the same thing. We'll see how long Andy Reid coaches.
Yes.
But it doesn't sound like he's looking forward to retirement. He's having fun. And with Mahomes, I mean, I would be very surprised, Tony, if they don't make it back.
Oh, he's got a meal ticket. I mean, this is his guy. He had Donovan McNabb. McNabb only took him to 1 Super Bowl. Mahomes has taken him to 5 Super Bowls now. 4 Super Bowls now.
Right. Yeah.
So, he's not going anywhere. Winning is fun. As long as you're winning, as long as you're having fun, there's no reason to go away.
Well, we got to say goodbye. We ran over our hour. Thanks for everybody sending your comments. It was a great conversation. We'll be back next Saturday. I think we teased a special guest for today. Kelsey did not come on today, but she will be with us next Saturday.
yeah, we will have our special guest next Saturday. We'll start talking about, we'll start getting a better idea of franchise tags, free agents, and more draft ratings. We'll get a better idea of what the Falcons might be able to do this offseason. What's your full name? Kelsey
Kramer.
Kelsey Kramer. So she's going to be on with us, and she's going to help sort some of that out to see where the Falcons are going to be, or where they could be, where they should be, as the new league year starts, as free agency starts, and we get ready for the draft. So looking forward to that for next week. And other than that, again, always appreciate you spending your Saturday with us, and looking forward to talking to you next week. Have a great week.